Hey Hunters, hey Lizu here for another video about one D&D stuff as we've got another set of subclasses. So my first immediate thought is, why the crazes are we getting so many subclasses before any have even released or seen a second version? Like, we really need new versions of the older stuff. Like, I don't even think we know about what book this is gonna be. Like, we have no idea. We haven't seen the realm subclasses return yet, which is why I'm so surprised this book exists. It's like, wait, what? This is another set of subclasses? And they are from all over. We've got actually a lot of books that, like, we're pulling from 3 different books for subclasses, and we're even pulling stuff from completely new stuff, as you can clearly see here. So I want to go through these and kind of talk about my initial thoughts about each of them and what I think about what they do. So we start off with the Reanimator Artificer. So this one, I think they come with a very unique thought process of, hey, let's make a kind of Frankenstein monster artificer, which I think is very cool. This is definitely a cool addition. However, I would have liked to see more iterations on the default artificer, uh, especially since this is so we haven't seen a third version of it yet. I'm hoping they either just cut the third level spells in store magic store spells, or they go and they fix the alchemist spell list. And we also need to see a second iteration of the cartographer, because that one was rough. This one, I will say, better off than cartographer, because I have read through this. But the spells, right off the bat, I am immediately kind of disappointed, because False Life, really not a fan of the spell in 5e. It's kind of been a spell that's just, it's not good as written. It's fine, but really it kind of needs a new version. One that's not held back by being random. Kind of like it should just be how the Warlock invocation that they just added does it, where it's like, no, you just automatically get the most out of it. Then we get Spare the Dying as a free cantrip, which is nice because, oh boy. It's nice that they acknowledge that, hey, we have features that care about this cantrip, but you're an artificer, so we'll just give you that cantrip for free. It's also why I'm so happy they put Mending as a free cantrip in the base artificer last we saw it. I won't reference that too much, but like, this is the kind of design of, yeah, it's nice that when you care about a cantrip, you just have that cantrip, especially an artificer, since it is so bad. They also get Witch Bolt, which, if this was base 5e, I would say is the absolute biggest slap in the face you could have gotten, as Artificer already doesn't have good first rank spells for damage. It's why I'm kind of frustrated with Artillerist still not getting something like at least Magic Missile or Chromatic Orb. However, for this one in 2024, I would say Witch Bolt is a much, much, much better spell, and you are positioned a bit better to use it more aggressively. So you can. It's still Witch Bolt, but at the very least, it's a much better spell baseline. 5th level, it's not great. The second rank spells aren't great. Blindness and Deafness, okay, fine. And Enhance Ability, Pretty sure that's already on the list, so that's kind of redundant, but oh well. Granted, second rank isn't great in terms of spells, so I can kind of understand it. They really need to start adding more and be more okay with, hey, we're going to expect you to take stuff from other books. We're not going to limit you just to the player's handbook for spells, because it's not fun. I get the idea that they don't want them to be too focused on, like, you have to have every book. But at the very least, it would be nice if they said, okay, we'll take spells from one extra book. So basically, there's just one designated book that, hey, we expect you to take spells from this book and use them, but these two, it's alright. Third rank, you get Animate Dead and Lightning Bolt, so as of now, assuming they are keeping the Artificer as we last saw it, which I hope Spell Storing Item gets nerfed again. This is an actually good spell to store, because that was a big problem Cartographer had, where it's like, oh, you just don't have anything to store that's actually worth storing in an item. Because Artificer has none by default, though it would be great if they added one. Like, even Melf's Minute Meteors, like, that would be awesome. It's something. Like, just anything that's they don't already have. Then at 4th rank, they get Blight and Death Ward, which the even spell ranks tend to be the worst. 2nd and 4th, in my opinion, are some of the worst in design. It's just the way they are. But these are fine spells. Then 17th, you get Anti-Life Shell and Raise Dead. So you get your big resurrection spell. They already have access to Revivify, so it makes sense that they only get Raise Dead as an extra spell. But overall, Reanimator spells, pretty good. In an infinitely better place than Cartographer was, so they've learned. Then we have Jolt to Life. This is a way to use Spare the Dying. So, ironically, this actually returns something we saw in previous 1D&D Unearthed Arcanas, where they made Spare the Dying restore 1 HP to this person. However, they have limited this to per day uses, but they've added an additional effect of you actually do lightning damage to people around them when you spare the dying. That's actually pretty cool. Granted, this is a 10-foot emanation, so do keep that in mind. Also, when you first get this, keep in mind it has a 15-foot range. I'll probably say this should probably have of your choice, because it, especially the first 2 levels you have this, at 3rd and 4th level, you're going to be danger close to this, so it might need to be of your choice, just so it's ally friendly. It's just D4 plus half Artificer level damage, and it's unlimited use, so I think it would be fine. But basically, this is just a very good way to quickly bring somebody back. Also, ironically, it kind of devalues Revivify and Raise Dead. However, those 2 spells will still be useful when you need to, when someone just gets auto-killed. As, yeah. No Spare the Dying is going to help you there, so it's nice. This is a good feature. Then you have Reanimated Companion. So this is kind of your special item sort of thing. So, also ironically, One weird note, they don't get extra tools, which is kind of uncharacteristic, but they just care about normal tinker tools. I think leatherworker tools would be a pretty good option for them, as I think that would be appropriate to the idea of, like, going to Magic Gatherings, Innistrad, and the Stitchers in that classic Frankenstein stuff of stitching flesh together to create this monstrosity. I think that would be very appropriate, and I think it's a missed opportunity that it doesn't have Leatherworkers tools. It's right there, Wizards. But anyway, so you summon this as a magic action. You can do this once per day, or you can use spell slots to do it again in case it dies. I will say it would be kind of nice if this had a few more, because of something I'll mention in a bit. That is probably the one weak point of this feature. So it's a companion. It works as you expect. Now, one thing I will point out, though, and this actually ties back into Witch Bolt being one of their spells. What the hell is wrong with you, Wizards? You give them Witch Bolt, which requires a bonus action to channel it, and then the companion is a bonus action to command. Not fun. So it would be nice if they said, if they specified when you use the Witch Bolt, like, you can command it as part of channeling Witch Bolt, just so the spell doesn't feel kind of pointless, where it's like, oh, I get Witch Bolt, yay, oh wait, I have to command this with a bonus action. Oh, I mean, the upfront damage is good, I guess, but that's it, because you're not using the bonus action. But it's 10 plus int AC, 4 plus 4 times Artificer level, so pretty decent amount of HP. It is pretty tough, though, surprisingly. And Con's actually its highest stat. Has some strength, no dexterity or wisdom, but I think they could have added a little dexterity. But especially since it's small by default. Not entirely a fan of it, but oh well. It does have 60 feet of blind sight, though. That is pretty absurd. Though it doesn't seem to have any way of really communicating with you. So, what's the point of the blind sight? Except, oh, if you see somebody but he couldn't for some reason, he can attack it. 30-foot move speed, standard. It resists necrotic and poison damage, which is weird because most undead are straight up immune to poison. This one is instead immune to lightning, though. Though I guess the idea is that it's artificial life, so it has some susceptibility to poison. Similar to, like, you could see a vampire having only resistance to poison, because they still have flowing blood and stuff. But the lightning immunity is pretty interesting, and kind of fills in the flavor of using lightning to reanimate this body like Frankenstein's monster. So yeah, that is pretty interesting. Then it has the feature that is possibly... This one, I feel like there's room to tweak it to make it more fun. This one is probably my most problematic thing, where once again, it doesn't quite work out as well as I would like, as you want your companion to die. He makes a big explosion, and it does 2d6 necrotic damage. So, I do have two critiques for this. One, it would be nice if this did damage on a failed save, or a successful save, so even if they succeed the saving throw, they still take some damage because, I mean, you had to use your once per day use of this to summon your companion. You might as well get a lot of damage out of its death. Also, I will say, I would like if this did a little more lightning damage. So, like, if it was D6 necrotic, D6 lightning. Just because I feel like it should have more ties to lightning, which we'll get into more with Dreadful Swipe in a moment. Lightning absorption. When the companion is subjected to lightning damage, it regains hit points equal to the lightning damage dealt. This would be nice if you had some electrical explosion ability, but as it stands, you can target this, like basically line it up so you get your companion and an enemy with a lightning bolt. So it has some fun uses. It would just be nice if you had a few more ways to abuse that, where it's like, oh, hey, I can do lightning damage and heal my companion. Like, if you had Call Lightning, that would be fun, but as it stands, they kind of need Lightning Bolt right now, because that's just better for spell storing. Because spell storing item has completely warped the hell out of Artificer's power. I wish I didn't have to keep saying this, but please, Wizards, reconsider spell storing item having 3rd rank spells. It is absurd. So then Dreadful Swipe is their attack, so it's spell attack basically. D4 +2 plus intelligence modifier. Target can't take opportunity attacks till the start of your next turn. I kind of wish that it was... Personally, I'd rather have just a flat D6 plus int instead of D4 +2 plus int. Just because I hate this, like, passive extra damage you get from a lot of summoning spells. Not a fan of them. Though, actually, that reminds me. I'm also kind of surprised they gave you Animate Dead instead of Create Undead. Or Summon Undead. It's a bit odd, but it works. But this, once again, I wish it did some lightning damage as well as necrotic. As I just want more tying into it having this lightning theme. Like, this is reanimated with lightning. Why can't I do lightning damage with my lightning reanimated deal? It's kind of like they added lightning damage to the Shambling Mound because lightning healed it before. Oh, now its electrical affinity is now more obvious in the 2024, or technically 2025 Monster Manual. I thought that was pretty cool, and I would like to see similar stuff done here. Level 5, you get Strange Modifications, and once again, they've learned from their mistakes with Cartographer. First feature, Arcane Conduit. Basically, you can cast spells through your companion. Okay, that's pretty cool. It would have been nice if you could do this with Spare the Dying earlier, as reviving someone next to them with that explosion is actually a lot more useful. But it's still pretty cool. And it does give you more usefulness out of blindness and deafness, which you do unlock here. So it is pretty nice. Also, your Evocation and Necromancy spells do +int damage if your companion is in 120 feet of you. Once again, pretty cool. I like it. I think it works out very well. Kind of encouraging you to have your companion up, which also means that I wish you had multiple uses of the companion per day just to coincide with how they have the Death Burst ability, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, like, you want him to die for this, but you also want him alive for this other stuff. It is what it is. They also get Ferocity, so basically your companion gets 2 Dreadful Swipes, which is actually frightening amounts of damage. Like, 2d4 +4 plus twice intelligence modifier damage. Oh boy. And that's on top of whatever you just cast. That's a lot of damage. It might be a bit too much. So this may end up being a thing where they might have to choose between the two. Or actually, no, you choose which one when you create it. So it is kind of weird, though, but I do appreciate it's like, okay, well, do you need more damage, like just more hits? Which it does more damage, but if you're facing something with high AC, you might get more out of the Evocation Necromancy buff instead, or you might be setting yourself up with a more aggressive caster build, and you want that extra damage. I don't know, I kind of feel like maybe committing to one or the other would be a better idea, but that's just my 2 cents. Then at level 9, you get improved reanimation. So basically you get to choose one of the following. So bloated, it becomes large or medium. So, and if it's a larger, smaller creature with dreadful swipe, push it up to 10 feet away. Not amazing, especially if you chose ferocity. But the death burst of the companion does plus intelligence modifier damage. Not amazing, but it is what it is. The push is alright. It's like, it's got some alright stuff. I think bloated, it's not amazing most of the time. And I feel like it could maybe get a third benefit, like maybe it has slightly higher AC, like maybe it has +2 AC. Because the push, it's not always useful. And then the extra damage from Death Burst, it's not much, and Death Burst is still all or nothing, so yeah, great. Then they have Gaunt, so this one increases the speed to 45 feet, and they have a climb speed. And you can climb difficult surfaces. So basically, you just climb wherever you want. And whenever a creature starts in 10-foot emanation from the companion, you can have it be frightened on a whiz save. Pretty nice. Then Moist. That's a name you've selected. The companion gains a swim speed equal to its speed. And whenever the companion is hit by an attack roll from a creature in 10 feet, takes acid damage equal to your intelligence modifier. Kind of feel like this should be lightning to kind of go in with that lightning theme. I kind of get the idea they may have been going for, but I also think, oh, that's a chance to add more lightning theme to the companion. And build on that theme with it. And note, this is not me being just like, I love lightning stuff and I would love more lightning stuff. This is actually me kind of going, the whole idea is you use lightning to reanimate this, so why not have that be the punish damage type? So this one, it's definitely useful in certain situations. And it's definitely a good back pocket, like, oh, I need this. And actually, both of these are. Bloated, I feel like it's the least useful of the two. Like, I guess minus large, giving you more area it can threaten and block. So I think there will be cases you use it, but it kind of feels like none of its utility is actually that useful compared to the other two. Where it's like, well, one punishes people for attacking it. One is much faster and has a climb speed, and it frightens people a lot. And then this one, it's just a push, which isn't great on melee attacks. And then it adds just a little more damage to the death burst. It's not amazing. Kind of wish this was like it has better defenses too. Maybe even does like slightly more damage. Like maybe instead of a D6 plus int, it's D8 plus int. So this is the one that hits harder. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of bloated as it is. It's not great. It has its uses, such as if you're around cliffs, but I feel like the other two, their secondary effect, their additional effects are just better. Then 15th level, Facilitated Revival. It halves the material component costs for Revivify and Raise Dead. That is pretty absurd, and it is a shame you get it so late when those costs don't really matter. If anything, I think this should be added to the level 9 feature as like a second feature you get at 9th. Because the biggest problem you're going to face is that you're 15th level. You should be swimming in money by this point. And as a result, and you already have, and this is also on top of Jolt to Life already kind of devaluing Revivify and Raise Dead. So I kind of feel like that Facilitated Revival could be moved earlier, just so it's like, well, at the very least, you're having the cost of Revivify from the start. But, oh well. Then we have Improved Companion, which just increases the Death Burst to 46, and the necrotic damage ignores resistance. Oh, okay. The necrotic damage ignoring resistance would be nice way earlier. Also, the 46 damage. Okay, that's an actually good buff compared to the bloated buff, but the problem is it's still all or nothing, which is not great. So, but overall, I think I like the idea they were going for. I think it's fine. It's just the ability itself isn't in the best place or as good of a place as it could be. Then Life Transfer, Siphoning Magic Companion to bolster yourself. So when you take damage, you can use a reaction to cause the companion to die and Death Burst, and then you regain HP equal to your Artificer level. That would be amazing if you were able to more aggressively use your companions. Granted, I guess it's 15th level, so you could just be more aggressive using your first rank spell slots. But I don't know. This once again goes back to that. I really like the foundation. I just think there's some tweaks around the companion that would make it a bit better, such as adding more lightning theme back into it, and then also having Death Burst do half damage on a successful save still, since it has such limited use, and also give a few more uses per day to offset the fact that you kind of expect this thing to die. Up next, we have the Returning College of Spirits. So this is our first returning subclass. So Guiding Whispers and Spiritual Focus are just one feature now. They did lose the Spirit Focus bonus, but well. At least from this, but it's fine. Now, I will... So it's otherwise the same. It's like Guiding Whispers, guidance, 60-foot range. Okay, fine. Spiritual Focus. Not a fan of the wording. Also, the fact you automatically get a set of playing cards. Which... Okay. I slightly understand that, but there's other options that you might want instead. So it's like, well, what if I want to use a crystal or orb, or a candle, or an ink pen? It's kind of like, oh, you have playing cards. Specifically. You're also proficient with it, which, okay, that's actually kind of fair. Or it's like, hey, you use playing cards. Do you have proficiency in them? No. It's kind of weird. So I appreciate that, but I don't know. I think it should be you gain proficiency in playing cards, and then also you can use playing cards, Arcane Focus, candle or ink pen as a spellcasting focus. It just changed the wording. I'm not a fan of that wording. It reads weird to me. Then Spirits from Beyond. So this has been tweaked massively. So basically, when you use the bonus action, it immediately triggers. It's not you use a bonus action, give it to somebody, and then they can use it later. Instead, it's, no, I activate it, bam, something happens. Which, awesome. Now then, the range of 30 feet. Not great. Because, honestly, like, the biggest problem you run into is that you're a relatively squishy caster. You're not a cleric or druid. You're a bard. You don't really have ways of being tougher in melee. Thus, having 30-foot range kind of limits you. So this could probably be doubled to 60 feet and it would be fine. As this would help certain effects feel a bit better to actually get and use. But anyway, the Spirits from Beyond, they are... So we've got Beloved, which just is a basic heal. Sharpshooter, this is one of those offensive ones that is like, yeah, no. This one could definitely use 60-foot range instead of 30-foot. But anyway, it's just force damage equal to Inspiration die plus Charisma. And it's automatic too. The Avenger, which basically when someone hits the target with a melee attack, take force damage. Renegade, use a reaction to teleport 30 feet. Fortune Teller, advantage on all d20 tests, or checks. That's cool. Wayfarer, gains temporary hit points, Inspiration die plus Bard level, rather than Inspiration die plus Charisma from the heal. And the speed's increased by 10 feet while I have them. It's alright. Trickster, Wiz save or take 2 Inspiration dice, psychic damage, and be charmed. Half damage, successful save. Shade, they become invisible until they make an attack roll. Deals damage, casts a spell. When it ends, each creature in 5-foot emanation con save or take necrotic damage equal to 2 rolls your Inspiration die. And another note is that you do actually roll, then choose the target. So I probably should have said that earlier, but yeah, no, you do actually roll, then target, rather than target and then roll. Arsonist, dex saver 4 Inspiration dice damage. Pretty hefty. Then there's the Coward. Target each creature choice 30 feet. To make a Wiz save or be frightened. While frightened, their speed is halved. And it's basically dazed. Where it can only take an action or bonus action, not both. Which that actually, it's kind of worse. Daze. Because Daze also limited move actions. Then there's the Brute. Each creature 30 feet emanating from the target. Make strength save or take 3 Bardic Inspiration dice, thunder damage, and are knocked prone. Pretty hefty. And then you get controlled channeling at 12, which it is what it is. So then we get empowered channeling at 6th, so Power from Beyond is basically the spirit bonus from before. So you just add a d6 to all your spell damage and healing, which is nice. And then also they have Spiritual Manifestation. So you always have Spirit Guardians available to you. And you can cast it without a spell slot once per day. That's cool. And then also, as an additional cool thing they get to do, while it's active, you and allies in it have half cover. You can only do that once per short or long rest, but usually that's about all you'll need. Especially if your DM wants to use the, in my opinion, mandatory rule of making short rest shorter. Because, oh boy. Then 14th level's kind of a dud. It's just you roll twice and choose the effect from Spirits from Beyond. Yay. They could really use a second feature at this level. They really could. Like, don't get me wrong, it's nice getting more control over what effects you get, but at the end of the day, you're still not getting much. And that's on top of Bard already having very few subclass features. It's honestly kind of sad that they didn't fix that problem, because they were actually the one class where I'm like, okay, the standardized subclass progression was really awesome for them, because it actually made it where, hey, yeah, you now have a 10th level feature, because it only added features. It didn't take away from where stuff was, which is awesome. But yeah, I think this is fine. It needs a little more work. So it would be nice if the Spirits from Beyond had double range, and they had something else at 14th level. But other than that, I think it's good. Like, granted, Spirit Bard was one of the few I would actually consider playing if I ever, for some reason, played Bard. Still Bard, but it's marginally better than most Bards. So then we go over to the Grave Domain Cleric. So this is back. So they have plenty of upgrades. So let's go over them. So spell list, they get Bane, Chill Touch, Detect Good and Evil, Gentle Repose, and Ray of Enfeeblement. Would be nice if they also got Ray of Sickness, maybe instead of Detect Evil and Good, since that's just on the Cleric list. And that is a thing where it's like, yes, Bane and Detect Evil and Good. 2 spells already on your spell list. Great. Chill Touch, kind of wish it was the old Chill Touch still, but at the very least with the new version, it's actually more usable on a Cleric, because you're Cleric. You have better armor proficiencies. You can actually use it. And even if you've gone the Protector route and have gone melee, it's still useful as a backup, like, oh yeah, something has healing capabilities? Not anymore. So, it is alright. Then they get Revivify. Great, another spell you already had. But, yeah, it is what it is. Also, their second rank spells. Gentle Repose is Gentle Repose. You don't use that often, but it's there, I guess. Then Ray of Enfeeblement. It's alright. It's a bit better than it was, but then, like, third rank, you got Revivify and Vampiric Touch. Vampiric Touch is nice, as it's a spell you don't normally get for some reason, even though you probably should. Fourth rank, Blight, Dispel Evil and Good. Once again, a spell already on your list. And it's at a level where you don't have many good options, so yeah. Then fifth rank, you get Hold Monster and Raise Dead. More spells you already had on the list, but oh well. Like, I kind of get why they put Raise Dead, as like it's thematic to them, but still. So then we've got Circle of Mortality. So basically when you hit a bloodied creature, Whenever you do damage to a bloodied creature, deal plus 1d4 necrotic damage. It's not much, but it's there. And at the very least, this is not working like Toll the Dead and Colossus Slayer, where it's like, oh yeah, if you've even had a paper cut, we're just going to do way more damage. So this is nice. Then we have Return to Life. So when you would restore, roll dice to restore HP to someone at 0 hit points with Spell or Channel Divinity, it's automatically maxed. That is awesome. Also, welcome back to the Death Yo-Yo. But at the very least, if anyone's going to do the Death Yo-Yo, it's Grave Domain. It makes sense that they would do this. Then at level 3, we have Path to the Grave. So this one is weird. So as a bonus action, you curse somebody, and then while cursed, it is disadvantaged on attack rolls and saving throws. Then, when you hit with an attack roll, you can end the curse early and then do necrotic or radiant damage equal to d8 plus cleric level. Also, why is this a choice between necrotic or radiant damage? This should, if they're going to have it here in Path to the Grave, it should also be here in Pull of Death. Just saying. Or maybe even make it where they can swap between necrotic and radiant on their spells. So anytime they would do either or, they can, one or the other, they can make it the other if they want to. That might be cool as an additional little thing. Because I think that would be a pretty unique twist on it. So I will say this one, I feel like it would be nice if it just lasted the full duration, and using the extra damage didn't just end it. Like, have it not end it, so it's like once before the curse ends, you can do that. Also, maybe make it work with spell damage, so if, hypothetically speaking, that might get a bit cheesy, given you could use, you could stack it with, Toll the Dead. As hypothetically speaking, you could cast Toll the Dead, take advantage of the saving throw disadvantage, and then hit them with massive amounts of damage. So, thinking about it, it might be a bit, not be a good idea, but it is kind of like, yeah, it'd be nice if you could use this for saving throw spells, but at the very least, you have some attack roll options. Though it would be nice if they also had Poison Spray available, since that's the new ranged option, since if you're going ranged Caster Cleric, you're relying purely on your allies for that, because you don't really have attack roll spells. Because somebody forgot to give Starry Wisp to the Cleric. Yeah, they really needed it, honestly. Then level 6, we've got Sentinel at Death's Door. So, when your bloody creature in 30 feet of you is hit by an attack, take a reaction to have that damage. Whiz uses per day. This is awesome. This is one of those features that, like, I mean, even though it's just for bloodied, that is still awesome. Of like, oh gosh, someone's dropping low. No, you don't do that much damage. Or if someone's about to get auto-killed, save them. This is going to be one of those, you don't always use it, but it's clutch when you do. That is pretty cool. Now note this, I think the wording, you might argue that this is like, you can always use it on yourself, which is a bit cheesy, but well. Then we have Divine Reaper. So, wait a second. Isn't Reaper from Death Domain not Grave? Yeah. Granted, I'm not sure what they're going to do with Death Domain, but I would like to see Death Domain return alongside Grave, as Death is the more aggressive one. But we have Enhanced Necromancy, which might look very familiar, as you cast a spell, Necromancy spell, 5th level or lower, or it can also be Grave Domain spells. You can expend a Channel Divinity to target a second creature in range. Now, do note, if it has costly components, you have to pay them separately. So, no, you can't just raise dead 2 people for the price of 1. No, you don't get 2-for-1s with Raise Dead or Revivify. None of that. This does mean, however, you can do stuff like double Chill Touch. It's actually not as amazing as it could have been. I don't think there's a lot of good Cleric Necromancy spells that can abuse this. So, it's not amazing. You don't have that many Necromancy options. So, this one, it could have been better. It's nice for what it is, but it could be better. Then you have Keeper of Souls. When an enemy in 60 feet of you dies, you or a creature you can see in 60 feet regains hit points equal to 3 times your cleric level. Can't use this while incapacitated, because that would be a bit too convenient. And you have to finish short or long rest before using it again. So this is pretty nice as oh yeah, we've just killed one of the ads. Okay, boom. Here's a heal for someone who's kind of injured. This is a great extra heal. Would have been nice if that was earlier, but oh well. Kind of confused as why Enhanced Necromancy's here, though. Not entirely sure I'm a fan of it. Also, not entirely sure I'm a fan of it taking up a Channel Divinity to use, but yeah, well. So then we've got the Hollow Warden Ranger, another new option. So this is a totally new one. So they've got Warden spells. They've got Wrathful Smite, Spike Growth, which is not great, I'll be honest. Phantom Steed, Hallucinatory Terrain, which those two, okay. And Awaken, which you don't get to use it often. Like, I will say this right off the bat, not the most useful set of rangers of spells to have on a list. This could use a second look to kind of tweak it a bit to make it a bit more focused. Especially Spike Growth, because that one, you already have it on a level where there's not a lot of good spells to take that aren't cheesy like this one. And this is a melee ranger. And it's concentration, which we'll start to see more and more problems crop up. So, for those of you who, for whatever darned reason, don't like the new Hunter's Mark focus, well, you're kind of screwed. Because this uses a lot of Hunter's Mark. As Wrath of the Wild is their main feature, and when you use Hunter's Mark, you gain the following bonuses. So you got Ancient Armor, which buffs your AC by your Wisdom modifier. So you're much tankier. And when an enemy starts its turn 10 feet of you, has to make a Wisdom save. Or it can only take an action or bonus action on its turn, not both. Not a fan of this one as much. Like, once again, it'd be nice if it was also limiting movement, so they either have to run, attack, or do some bonus action thing. Just limiting actions and bonus actions is not going to hurt enemies that much. Granted, there's a lot with bonus actions, but you're not going to get as much out of Unnerving Aura. The main thing is Ancient or Armor. Then 7th level, you've got Hungering Might, so you gain bonus to con saves equal to your Wisdom modifier. Would be kind of nice to have a bit earlier, so the concentration's not as big of a problem on Hunter's Mark, but especially for a melee build, but oh well. Then, once per turn when you hit a creature while Wrath of the Wild's active, you regain 1d10 plus Wisdom HP if you're bloodied. So basically, when you're hurt, you can keep yourself going very, very well. And further building into the absolute tank you can become as Hollow Warden. Then we have Rotten Violence. So while Wrath of the Wild's active, you get Eerie Aura. So whenever a creature fails the save against Unnerving Aura, it takes Ranger level necrotic, poison, or psychic damage, ignoring resistance, which, yeah, like that's going to help you with poison much, but it's there. Also, the resistance ignoring, I honestly don't know many situations where that actually matters, because with 3 options, you're not going to come up against a lot of enemies who have resistance or immunity to all 3. Usually there will be one you can use to get around it, so that part, not as useful as you'd think. It's nice on occasion, don't get me wrong, but it's not every day you see something that has resistance to all of those where you need that. Then we've got Strangling Root, so when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon, so you can sap or slow them, in addition to another mastery property. So basically, yeah, that is actually very good. So if you combine this with, and if it already does sap or slow, then, well, you get to activate both. And note, this is not once per turn. So, hypothetically speaking, if you were to use, like, combine this with Vex and Nick, like with Nick, you could get a lot of slows out, or a lot of saps out, if you go the full dual wield route. But as it stands, this is actually pretty nice. Level 15, we've got Persistent Hunt. So if you drop to 0 HP while Wrath of the Wild's active, you can expend a level 4+ spell slot to regain 5 times the spell slot's rank HP. So yeah, that is very nice in emergencies as a, oh gosh, panic button. Now I will side note and say that this could maybe be changed to you use Cure Wounds on yourself. But, oh well, as it is, I think this is a pretty decent option to have. Then you have Timeless, which you're just immune to exhaustion. It's there. Okay. I will say, the actual features, for the most part, I really like. Unnerving Aura is the one I'm like, not as big a fan of this one, but everything else has been, oh, and the, like, extra spells, but everything else I think is pretty cool. I think this one's an actually pretty cool new option. It adds another melee ranger option. Like, my only complaint is I kind of wish there was more support for ranged with this one, but as it stands, it's not half bad. So then we go over to the Phantom Rogue. So we have a Tasha's subclass, so yeah. So we've got a few changes. Wails from the Grave now has dex uses per day, so yay, it's not tied to proficiency. Awesome. However, still doesn't do necrotic damage to the main target. Never been a fan of that. Like, I wish it just it's like, oh yeah, when you use this, the main target takes necrotic damage. And don't worry, we'll talk about something else later. Then they've got Whispers of the Dead. which is just the same as it was, actually. So, finish short or long rest. Choose skill, ritual proficiency to gain. Yeah, it's nice. Level 9, Tokens Departed. So this one, you now have 2 soul shrinks gets every day. So in addition to ones you gain naturally, you just always have 2 active. So you can be a bit more aggressive with their usage. Awesome. And at 13th and 17th, you get an additional trinket per day by default. So then, Death Snell, we do sneak attack damage. Use Whales of the Grave for free. Life Essence. As long as you have 1 soul trinket, gain advantage on death saves and con saves. Which is alright. Less useful than it could be, but it's there at least. And do note that there's some nasty con saves out there. It's just, as a non-caster, you don't make as many. It's not as useful. Then Spirit Query. Uses a magic action to cast Augury. With Dexterity as the spell modifier, which is odd, but okay. And then you can still regain more when a creature dies in 30 feet of you. 9th level, you got Voice of Death. So this is a completely new feature at 9th level, which just lets you do cast Speak with Dead. Once again, using Dex as the spell modifier. And you can do this once per short or long rest, which is pretty nice, actually. So it's just a nice bit of extra flavor on top. Can't go wrong with that. So 13th level, we've got Ghost Walk. So take a bonus action to become a ghost for 10 minutes. And can't do it again until you finish a long rest or use a soul trinket. So you got 10 feet of flight. Attack rolls have disadvantage against you, and you move through occupied spaces as if they're difficult terrain. So it's kind of just, hey, you can move around a bit more. It's not amazing. Like, I mean, you have to take your entire turn just to move your base move speed, but it has its uses. It's there at least. Then we've got Death's Friend at the end, where we get Death's Lament. So you know how I said I wish they made Whales of the Grave do necrotic damage to the main sneak attack target? It's here. All the way at 17th level. That's it? Yeah, no, that's just... It's just plain stupid. No, it's bad. Really bad. But, yeah. I feel like this should instead be, oh, Whales from the Grave does full sneak attack damage to the second target, and then just have what it currently does just baked into Whales from the Grave at the start. So it's like, oh yeah, you do necrotic damage, and then this other guy takes half that necrotic damage. And then Death's Friend is, oh, now it does full damage. Have fun. Then there's also Draw of Death, so once again, when you're out of something and roll initiative, regain 1. Yay. Really hate these, but at the very least with with only 4, I guess it's a bit more reasonable that you might be out of them. But they're also not that difficult to regain, since when people die, you can use reactions to gain more. So, I don't know, Draw of Death, it's kind of just there. It is what it is, end of the day. So then we've got Shadow Sorcerer returning from Xanathars. So, Eyes of the Dark, you now have 10 feet of blind sight. That is quite something to get at 3rd level. That one, oh boy. Then also you can just always see through magical darkness of your spells. So there's no more, oh, you have to cast darkness with sorcery points just to see through it. Yay. But then you'll notice that they just have shadow spells instead of the ability to just cast darkness with sorcery points. And yeah, no, it's on the list. So they get Bane, Inflict Wounds at 1st rank, Darkness, and oh my, they really gave a cast pass without trace, really? Really, Wizards? Do you know how annoyingly stupid this spell is? And they can cast it even more than Rangers and stuff? Oh. Oh boy. This is going to be a nightmare for a lot of DMs seeing that on there. So yeah, you get pass without frickin' trace. When, you know, they could have put regular invisibility. I get they get greater invisibility later, but it'd be fine. Then, 3rd rank, they get Hunger of Hadar and Summon Undead. Okay, that's two pretty nice spells. And also, note, you can see through your own Hunger of Hadar for even more, just murder someone in it shenanigans. For free, too. Then they've got 4th rank, Greater Invisibility and Phantasmal Killer, so actually 2 good spells at 4th rank. That's a rare sight on these spell lists. Then 5th rank, though, Contagion and Creation. Yeah, no, that is just bad. Like, I get there's a dearth of decent spells, but come on. That's not great. So then, level 6, you get Spirits of Ill Omen, so this replaces Hound of Ill Omen, and hey, look, you get Summon Undead without a material component, and you get it free once per day. Nice. And when you cast it, you can drop the concentration requirement, but it lasts only 1 minute, which, fine. That's usually you'll want that in combat, so who cares? But yeah, that is actually pretty cool. Then 14th level, we've got Shadow Walk. And once again, oh my gosh, why? Well, in Dim Light or Darkness, you take a bonus action, teleport 120 feet to another space that's also Dim Light or Darkness. So, you take what's already one of the most overpowered subclass features from Shadow Monk, where they already had Misty Step on steroids at will. I get this is 14th level, but Dimension Door on steroids? No. Why? I don't care that it's Dim Light or Darkness. This is just absurd. 120 feet of teleportation at will? Are you kidding me, Wizards? This really needs a sorcery point cost. It is just bad as it is. This needs a limit. 18th level low, to cap it all off, they have Umbral Form, where finally you have a use for sorcery points. But you do get a free one per day. Though also thinking about it, why is this not tied to innate sorcery? You're entering a form as a bonus action. Why not just tie this in with innate sorcery? But you can also reuse with 6 sorcery points. So basically, you move through difficult terrain. Occupy spaces if it's difficult terrain. So standard incorporeal movement. Then you've got Shadow Resilience, so you have resistance to everything except Force and Radiant damage. Checks out. And if you drop to 0 HP and not die outright, make a charisma save. 5 plus half damage taken is the DC. And if you succeed, get 3 times sorcerer level HP back. That's pretty cool, though I question why that is not part of innate sorcery. That seems like a no-brainer pair-up. Yeah. And then it's frickin' back. Hexblade Patron. My first immediate input for this: Wizards, please rename this. Just please. It should not be Hexblade anymore. Bring back the Raven Queen Pact from the UA they first showed Hexblade in. Have that replace it. Where it's like, hey, here's the kind of generic Shadowfell themed build. It's not just Hexblade anymore. As it still has some problems with being parasitic to Pact of the Blade. Except without the proficiencies. As they did cut the extra proficiencies since, I mean, the charisma to it, so Hex Warrior's gone, which, completely fair, but the spell list is still heavily biased towards working with Pact of the Blade, and it's just not good. So, at first rank, they've got Hex for free, which is actually fine. You'll see why in a moment. Shield, which is actually terrible on them. It's like, yeah, but you don't really have the spell slots to use it. And then Wrathful Smite. Yeah, with that blade, you totally have, if you're not Packed the Blade for some reason. Then Arcane Vigor in Magic Weapon. So, yeah, Arcane Vigor, like Magic Weapon, yeah. Because you totally have a weapon, right? Right? Arcane Vigor, though, I could see that being more generally useful in your back pocket, but still more likely to need that as a pack to the blade. Then Conjure Barrage, because you clearly have a weapon. Dispel Magic, that one's alright. Freedom of Movement, not a great spell, in my opinion. It's useful when you need it, but it's kind of just there in Staggering Smite, because you clearly have a weapon, even though nothing else on this cares about weapons. You got Animate Objects, which is kind of just there. Not entirely sure why that's here, but it is. Then Steel Wind Strike, because clearly this is a weapon build, with no support for weapons in it anywhere else. Yeah. This is definitely a problematic part. They really need to just rework this to not be weapon-based. Hexblade was a mistake from the start. And this is just, they're trying to walk that back, but they just can't. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, and here's just a random idea off the top of my head. If they really wanted, for some ungodly reason, to keep the weapon focus, maybe give them Spiritual Weapon or Shadow Blade as one of their spells. So that way it's like, hey, you've got weapon-based stuff here. It works in a slightly different way, but it's there. But as it is, this is just like, it's a relic of an old design that really should just be killed off. Move on. Just move on. Then we have Hexblade Manifest. So this now affects your Hex. So basically the Hexblade's curse is now just part of Hex. So use Hex Charisma mod times per day without spell slots. Great. Basically just, yeah, no, Hexblade's curse is just you casting Hex now. It's that simple. It's a no-brainer. Then once per turn, when you hit a creature cursed by Hex with an attack roll, you do an additional effect. So you got Draining Slash. So target makes a con save, and then it can't make opportunity attacks, and its speed is halved. So you kind of slow it down. Harrowing Blade, so Wiz save. Or it takes necrotic damage equal to charisma modifier when it attacks somebody other than you. So for caster builds, not great, but for the melee builds, because this is still kind of designed for melee builds, it's good. Timing Mark, disadvantage on next saving throw makes before the start of your next turn. So yeah, that can be combined to some nasty spell effects. Then level 6, you've got Life Stealer, so you've got Hungering Hex, so whenever a creature cursed by your Hex drops to 0 HP, regain 1d8 plus Charisma HP, so you just get that heal back. It is later, but it's fair, to be honest. Then we've got Inevitable Blade. When you miss the creature cursed by Hex, you can do Charisma modifier necrotic damage to the creature. Though I will say, I kind of feel like this could have just done the damage from your Hex, but oh well. It's fine as it is. Then 10th level, you still have Armor of Hexes, but this has been modified to be basically when someone deals damage to you and they have your Hex spell on. Basically, you use reaction to reduce it by 2d8 plus Charisma modifier, and you have Charisma uses per day. So, it's alright. Then 14th level, we've got Masterful Hex. So, this is where the Accursed Critical comes in. So, basically, any attack roll against creature hexed by you can crit on 19 or 20. We've got Infectious Hex. When you use one of your Hexblade maneuvers, you can target an additional creature in 30 feet of the cursed target, and they take d6 necrotic damage. So basically, when you damage your hexed creature, you can also damage someone else. And you've got Resilient Hex, which would have been nice way earlier, where damage doesn't break concentration on Hex. Probably would have been nice as part of the level 6 stuff, maybe. I don't know. As it is, I'll say this. I like everything except the name and the spells. The spells needs an entire ground-up rework, and the name, they need to abandon Hexblade, leave it in the past. Who cares if it was popular before? Kill it, please. Let this move on from being tied to Pact of the Blade. Kill their parasitic relationship forever, Wizards. This is your chance to move on. So then we've got the Undead Patron of Warlock as our final one, since this is horror subclasses, so of course both the Van Richten subclasses are being remade. So this one has a few tweaks. So Undead spells, it sees some improvements. Unfortunately, not enough in my opinion, but we'll talk about it. So, level 3, they've got Undead spells, so first rank, they still have frickin' False Life. Really? Really? That's the spell that stayed? And Speak with Dead is still here too? Like, at the very least, I will say this is a slight improvement to how it was before, because before it was, so wait, you're telling me you want me to use my spell known to learn a spell I could just pick up as an at-will spell, Invocation. Why the hell would I ever take it? At least this way, hey, you get it for free, so it could be worse. But False Life is still a very meh spell as a spell. It's only really good with the Invocation, and the Invocation is actually improved, so it's even more pointless to take it as a spell on Warlock. And then with Speak with Dead, it's, you know, like having an at-will version of it is just better. You don't have many spell slots, and it's like, as written, it is a nightmare to try and regain it. It's just not great, and thus the at-will Invocation is just better off. Now, that said, they did trade Bane for Ray of Sickness, which I think is actually an improvement. They already have access to Bane, so being able to take Ray of Sickness and having Ray of Sickness instead, I think is a good change. Granted, I would have preferred having Bane and Ray of Sickness rather than False Life and Ray of Sickness. It's just one of those things of, yeah, I would prefer they kept Bane, but I will also say I'd rather see Inflict Wounds instead of False Life. I think that's the spell I want the most on them, but as it is, it's fine. Then for second rank, they got Blindness and Deafness and Phantasmal Force. Alright pair of spells. Then third rank, they get Speak with Dead and Vampiric Touch. Vampiric Touch is actually a nice addition. Kind of gives them a good spell from this, finally. Then fourth rank, they get Death Ward for some reason and Phantasmal Killer, which is a great improvement to Phantasmal Force, so it builds upon that. Does kind of replace it, but oh well, it's fine. Then fifth rank, they get Anti-Life Shell and frickin' Cloud Kill, so yeah, just murder people. But it is what it is, you know. So in sixth rank, we have Grave Touch, so this gives you Arcane Necrosis, so when you damage a creature with necrotic damage, it ignores resistance. Okay. Also, when you cast a spell that deals damage, you can change it to necrotic if you're in Form of Dread. Okay. That's not amazing. I kind of wish they kept the extra damage, though, since all Form of Dread does is, like, Charisma times per day, you can activate this and get D10 plus Warlock level temporary hit points, and you're immune to being frightened. And when you hit a creature with an attack roll, and it doesn't matter if it's necrotic or not, Wiz Save or be frightened. So yeah, that part, what's the point of making it necrotic damage? Unless, since, I guess, like, now granted, this is nice with Ray of Sickness at least, but I don't know, it's like, most of the time, it's not gonna matter much. It's just there. Then we have Undead Endurance, so don't gain exhaustion levels from dehydration, malnutrition, or suffocation, and you don't need to sleep, and you can't be put to sleep with magic. So, okay. Kind of wish they still had the extra damage with necrotic from Form of Dread, but because as it is, it's like, okay, that's not, this doesn't really do much for you. Like, there's not much you're going to get from it. Most of the time, at least. Then 10th level, we get Necrotic Husk. So you have resistance to necrotic damage, and while in Form of Dread, that upgrades to immunity. Nice. Not always useful, but it's there. And then you've got Unholy Resuscitation. So if you drop to 0 HP and don't die outright, cause your body to erupt with deathly energy. And everyone of your choice in 30 feet has to make a con save or take 2d10 plus Warlock level necrotic damage, half on a success. Hey, look, a much better death burst than Reanimator's Companion. And you regain 10 times Charisma modifier HP, and you gain an exhaustion level. So that is hefty, but oh well. Plenty of damage and a big heal for an exhaustion level. Yeah, that's fine, especially since exhaustion's way less annoying than it was before. And this is once per short or long rest, though you're probably not going to want to use it more than once per day anyway. Then 14th level, we've got Superior Dread, so get a fly speed equal to your speed in form of Dread. You cast a Warlock spell that's a Conjuration or Necromancy spell. You do so without verbal, somatic, or material components, unless that material component is consumed or has a cost. So, no, you can't cheese costed spells. Then there is Vitality Siphon. So once per turn, when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you gain HP equal to your Charisma modifier. So this actually makes the necrotic damage conversion matter. If only that was anywhere earlier. Yeah. That would be nice to matter earlier. But as it is, I think Undead's fine. It's just, they need some other benefit to Arcane Necrosis' second part. Beyond just, well, if you were doing poison damage, then, and you convert it, then, since there's several enemies that are resistant to necrotic but immune to poison, like, it has its uses, but it's kind of a, yeah, this is probably, it would be nice if there was some other reason to care about doing necrotic damage specifically. But anyway, that is the horror subclasses. I think they did all right here. Granted, Hexblade is back and it's still Hexblade. Thank you, Wizards. I absolutely hate it. In some of the new stuff, I think there's little things that need to be tweaked. Overall, I'd say they did pretty good. It's just, there's a few tweaks that have been, and I will also note that there's a lot of problems that have existed for a while that are still around that I'd like to see changed. But as it is, I'm fine with it. But anyway, I will see y'all next time. Halo Zoo, out.